Hey friends, Christian here, and today I want to give you a plan for how you can pass on faith to youth and young adults. Though we at OIM are still preparing our more particular offerings for 2023, we don't want you to have to wait to start bringing game-changing ministry to your parish. I mean, it's time we all start doing something differently, or we're going to continue to watch our young people leave. And I know which one we'd all prefer. The one where they stay, right? Okay, good. Just checking. First, we need to recognize that things like Sunday school and youth ministry are new inventions. Did you know that the first English Sunday school didn't even exist until 1780? This means that for nearly 1800 years, the church was able to develop saints without any kind of youth ministry. And that's where OIM's vision and plan for ministry can help you now. You've heard us repeatedly say these 3 E's: encounter Christ, embody his church, and engage the world in his name. Throughout the generations of saints, this is the path that God has used to make human beings like himself, and it's this threefold plan that will pass on faith to young people. Let's consider St. Paul. First, an encounter with Christ. Paul is a devout Pharisee who thought that he was doing God's work by killing Christians, and then on the road to Damascus, he's knocked to the ground by Jesus, who asks, "Paul, why do you persecute me?" And by me, Jesus means the church. He fully identifies with the church. This matters. Next, embody the church. After being blinded by this encounter with Christ, Ananias baptizes Paul into this body of believers that Christ says he is. Paul is incorporated, literally embodied into the community. He grows among Christians as he becomes a member of the household of God, where he learns the ways of God's people and finds himself as a participant in Christ's incarnate presence in the world, the church. Finally, engage the world. Paul doesn't just keep going to church and fellowshipping with other Christians as they keep the kingdom to themselves. Instead, he is commissioned as an apostle and missionary and sent to go forth into the world as an emissary of God's kingdom. Encounter, embody, engage. You'll see this pattern everywhere throughout the lives of the saints. So, what if it works the same way with young people? What if our ministries focused on facilitating encounters with Christ, inviting young people to embody his church, and then sending them forth to engage the world in his name? What if instead of simply telling young people that faith matters, we showed them that faith matters? If youth and young adults are going to devote their lives to following Jesus Christ, then they need to meet him. They need to encounter him to know that he is worth following. We must create spaces where they can intentionally find themselves in the presence of God. We must teach them spiritual disciplines and practices that put them right in the way of Christ's grace train. If they're going to stick around, they must be fully invited to embody Christ's church today, not as half members who wait on the sidelines, but as valued members without whom our body is missing a limb and our family is incomplete. Youth and young adults need roles that matter. They need connections with other brothers and sisters in Christ that reveal, yes, you are a beloved child of God. You are a member of his family. You are a part of us. And finally, youth and young adults must be commissioned to engage the world as ambassadors of God's love. We must send them forth from the church as peacemakers and healers, as embodiments of God's love that helps the world align more fully with God's purposes, God's justice, and God's coming kingdom. If young people are going to believe that faith matters deeply, then they need to see that faith doesn't just live in their heads, but that it also lives in their hands. Of course, there are questions that follow, and I'm so glad you've asked them. How do we facilitate encounters with Christ? How do we help them embody his church? What does engagement with the world look like? Fortunately for you, O hungry question asker, we're going to explore each of these over the next few weeks. In the meantime, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Orthodox Youth Ministries. Go over to our website, orthodoxyouthministries.org, join our mailing list, and even get a free PDF on relational ministry. And, as always, do the YouTube things. Like this video, share it, and be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can receive new content on how you can share God's love with young people. That's all I've got. Until next week, we at OIM wish you all peace and sincerely pray that something good happens for you today.